We so often think that the little things don't count.
2 minutes, that's it.
That was such a shift for me to realize how these tiny little moments start to add up.
We can all find 2 minutes in our day to get moving. Yet so many of us will make every excuse not to, me included. Lizzie Williamson, the excuse buster from Down Under, is on Intentional Living with Courtney Myers.
The joy that movement brings and what it does for us, the benefits of it, it's so incredible.
Sharing her infectious energy.
Really, there's something about the word exercise. I like to flip that word so it becomes the word energize.
Her motivation.
It's that just tiny bit of action that precedes the motivation that then leads to the momentum.
And of course, her signature 2-minute moves.
Trust in these little moments and how that'll make it easier for you to do it tomorrow, the next, and the next.
On an all-new Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Myers, a podcast dedicated to those seeking a more fulfilled and purposeful life through thought-provoking conversation, spiritual exploration, and authentic connections. The intentional movement has begun, and if you found yourself here, you are a part of it. Intentional Living with Courtney Myers starts now. Hi, Lizzie. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. I'm really excited to talk to you today. I think I can use some of your motivation. I think we all can use some of your motivation, your happy, your smile, and all of your great advice. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've been happy dancing all morning in anticipation.
It's funny. I know it's morning for you. It's fun when I get to do this because I talk to people around the world, and it's evening here for me and it's morning for you, and it's always mind-boggling to me to think wow, we're in such different worlds, yet we're not in different worlds. And I mean, that even goes to our mindset and how we work. We all can be in such different places, yet our mind messes with us all in the same way, no matter what culture, no matter what area, no matter what space we come from, we all deal with this. And you have tapped into something that is a universal problem, I think, for most people, not just women, for all of us, is movement and motivation and all the benefits it brings that we know it brings. We know. I don't think there's anyone walking this planet that doesn't know that motivation and moving our body is good for us, it does wonders for us. Yet so many of us don't do it, me included. I mean, come on, what is wrong with us?
So many things get in our way of doing it. And it's so crazy, isn't it? Like you say, we all know we need to be doing it. We all know that it's going to help us feel better. A lot of us know that it helps our brain function so much better. Mm-hmm. We know our bodies often feel so much better and less achy and all that stuff. We feel less stressed. And yet still we will be there going, oh, no, I can't do it. I can't be bothered. I don't feel like it. I'm too tired. All the things that we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Why do we do that? Why do we let our mind say no? I mean, I've had this conversation before with Britt Frank about the science of stuck, why we get stuck in our heads and we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. And she talks about micro moves, and I know you do too. Literally, it can just be a micro thing to push us into starting to move. Like you say, 2 minutes. 2 minutes is all it takes. But for me, and I don't think I'm alone in that, it's I had another guest tell me, just do 5 sit-ups. Just start small, 5 sit-ups. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to do anything. So I'm so all or nothing. I'm just not going to do it. Why would I do that? If I can't dedicate a full hour to this, why should I dedicate 5 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, 15 years ago, I was in such a rock bottom, dark place. I had a baby, I had a toddler, and I had always loved to move. I'd been a professional dancer. Dancing, movement was just joy for me. And before this time, if I'd heard of someone who was, not feeling that great, struggling with depression, whatever it was, I would just think, they just need to go out and exercise. It's easy. Just do it. And this all just completely changed for me because I found myself in that position where I could not get myself to do it. It felt so hard, so impossible. And what I ended up realizing at that time, after just starting to take these little 2 minutes to do these, my plies or leg bends at my kitchen bench or some push-ups, which by the way felt incredibly hard, but sometimes we get to that place, that real rock bottom place where we know we just have to take some kind of action. And that was me. And at that time, I realized very slowly that I was totally stuck in this all or nothing mindset when it comes to exercise. And I had all these rules about what exercise has to look like. And I think that's one of the big things that holds so many of us back. You there saying then it's such a common thing. I said it myself. What's that going to do? Really? And it can't be that this hour, because exercise is an hour or half an hour. It's a separate location. We wear this fancy active wear. We get these certain results. So it doesn't fit in with those rules that we and maybe the fitness industry has set up about what exercise has to look like. Then we don't do it. But the crazy thing is that our bodies and our brains, it doesn't care about all these rules that we've set up about what exercise has to look like. Our bodies, our brain, our spirit, they just want us to move because that's how we are designed to function at our best.
I love that you say that, your spirit, because I know when we tap into our spirit, my mentor has told me this so many times. It's through movement. It's through like dancing. I'm right there with you. Like I used to be a dancer myself. I wasn't professional, but I danced for like 15 years of my life. And then I did the cheerleading and I did all the dance teams and, all those things. And so when I think of exercise, that to me isn't exercise. And so I think, maybe I need to go back to doing things like that. But then I get in my own way. I'm like, okay, I'm 41, almost 42. Like, really, who wants to see the fat 42-year-old, ballerina in the class? You get in your head, you get in your way of doing that. But that's what I truly loved. It wasn't work to me. I didn't have to force myself to do it. So now it's like, no, we have to do exercise. You have to do it in this way. Yet when we connect to our spirit, and we allow that to take the lead, which is like just dancing around the kitchen with my 2 and 4-year-old, or going for a walk, which is so good for you, even if it's 5 minutes around the block, running around with the dog outside. It is life-changing. I tried to do 75 hard a couple months ago. And, that's that extreme mentality, all or nothing. You got to get those 2 workouts in a day and all these other things. And, I was good for like 10 days. And then I had to work late. One of my kids got sick. It was just it was a shitstorm of events. So I couldn't make my second workout that day. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to give up, which in my mind, that made more sense to go that extreme route than do the 2-minute squat. None of this makes sense.
We so often think that the little things don't count. When I was in that place 15 years ago, that was such a shift for me to realize how these tiny little moments start to add up, because I remember a few months after taking that little first plie there at my kitchen counter, and I was there and my toddler, Stella, she said to me, "Let's have a dance, Mum." And up until this point, for quite a while, I'd been sort of saying, "Oh no, I can't do it. I got to make dinner," or just making some excuse or faking my way through it. I just was so disconnected from myself. And what I realized, I was so disconnected from them. And I had my little baby on one hip and my toddler on the other, and we started dancing together. And I will never forget this moment where I turned to one side and I saw Stella, and I looked at her in the eyes, and then I turned to Ruby and I looked at her in the eyes, and it was like I was seeing them for the first time in so long. And I started to see that it was those tiny, tiny little things that I had been doing, those little push-ups for a minute, the little plies, so I was brushing my teeth, doing a few squats, whatever. That was the thing that had led me to this moment, this most precious moment that I could even imagine.
Wow. I mean, I'm just even thinking about it yesterday. I took my daughter shopping to get some new clothes. And it was one of the very first times like I kind of let her go wild in the store. Usually it's like we keep, she's 4.5. It was very exciting for her. And she picked out all these new dresses because that's all she'll wear. And she came home and wanted to do a fashion show. And she literally just had me sitting there and she said, "Mommy, no phone. We get so distracted." And she was like, "Mommy, put that phone down. It's my show." And she does dance too. So she put on this whole show for me. And I watched her and I was smiling and thinking, and she didn't want me to join in with her on this time. So I just was watching her. And then it just took me, like you said, like I felt like I saw her. I get that moment. It's like you see her and you see the light in them and their eye, and and just that connection through movement is huge. It took me back to me as a child. That's exactly what I did, is like I would get my little stage in front of everyone and do my little dances and performances. And there's so much of that we lose as adults because, yeah, we have to do these dishes and we miss these moments, especially with our children. And all our children want are our attention, our love, and they want to move, especially when they're little like that. They don't want to be sitting still.
That's right. And you've talked a lot about connection on this show, Courtney, and there is something about how movement can help you feel connected back to yourself. It's like you start to access that inner child again that just wants to move. And before, they were told they had to sit down all day at school, at university, at work. And so you find that inner child, and therefore you're then able to connect more with others. And it's incredible. It's not just our kids as well. When I do this sort of stuff with workplaces, I see what happens when people move together. And even though there will be at the beginning, "Oh no, I don't want to get moving," and it only takes a few seconds for everyone to kind of do it and do some, funny old dance moves or some stretches, whatever. They start to look around, they start to smile, they start to laugh. This energy, the connection, it's just infectious. It's incredible. You would have witnessed it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that connection and just the mood, the change in mood, even, when I was trying to do that 75 hard for the 10 days that I was able to do it, I know how much better I was, how much better I was showing up. You could feel it. As much as I didn't want to go on that walk, I would come back and I would feel better. And the first day I stopped doing it. And then the next day I stopped doing it. And then a couple days later, I stopped doing it. I turned to my husband, I go, "I was in a much better mood, wasn't I?" And I know how my mood is by how everyone in my house is acting, because I don't know what it is about being the mom or what, but you set the tone in your house. And if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, your kids are just like, they'll be shits to you all day. Yet if you have that good, happy, infectious mood, it's contagious and everyone in the house feels it.
Yeah. And the incredible thing is, as well, as my girls have gotten older, I've now got 15 and 17-year-olds, I can see how my actions have been complete role modeling for them. So now if one of them goes, "Oh, I feel so tired, I'm so annoyed, I'm just going to get out there and go for a quick walk around the block." Or I can see one of them there studying away on their computer, and then they'll just kind of stand up and have a stretch. And they've been watching me do it for so long. And rather than me telling them to do it, or even if I'm at work telling my colleague, my employee, or whoever that they need to do this, you doing it yourself, it's an incredible thing when you start seeing the people around you use movement as a way to help them feel better, help them work better, all the things that it does.
Do you think that's one of our problems, that we've become such a society of, sedentary people? I know you talk about this as your motivation to write your second book, as your daughter coming home and being like, "Why are we stuck at a desk?" Which I have now started, now that my kids are getting to the age where they're going to be going to school, I have actually started questioning the school system. I don't think it's actually designed to make us succeed in life as a full, well-rounded person. Yes. Do you need the fundamentals of learning, reading, right? All that stuff. But I have very mixed feelings about it yet. I know I'm not a homeschool mom, so I don't really know what the answer for me is there. But I wonder, have we just become so conditioned to this sedentary life that it's just almost like this collective consciousness of not wanting to move?
Yes. And also we're wanting to do so much. We expect so much of ourselves, what we have to deliver in our day. And if we're having to put things out on social media, put things out in our work, stay connected with people, we're just like, I feel myself, it's just go, go, go to the finish line. And we just think we just can't take these breaks. I think teachers feel it. I think employers feel it. And I've been watching this show on Netflix called Drive to Survive, and it's about Formula One drivers. I never thought I would be into Formula One drivers, but my family's all totally into it. And it is so great because these drivers are, top of their game, super high performers, and they are there just wanting to get to that finish line, and every millisecond counts. But what's amazing is that they have to, when their crew says box, 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 they have to pull in for this pit stop. Now, it doesn't take very long, but they have to, get new tires on, fix the engine, all the kind of stuff they're doing. And then they're back on the track and then off they go. And so with us, we would think like these Formula One drivers, no, we've got to keep going, we've got to keep going. And yet these drivers know that they need to take these moments to take a pause, get their vehicle back ready. So that's going to get them to the finish line. We need to think more like these Formula One drivers and take these little pit stops so that our vehicle gets us across the line the way that we really do want it to, rather than how it's often getting across the line, which is crawling, burnt out, exhausted, because we think we just have to push through.
Yeah. I mean, even the thought of giving myself a break gives me anxiety. Like, it's like you think I can't stop. That there's something wrong with that. And how long can you carry that attitude on? Like, how long? We are not Energizer bunnies. Like, we have to take the time to slow down. Yet for some reason, I cannot find like that time just to slow down. And I know a lot of people like that, whether it's like their work or they come home and they have to be constantly busy nonstop. They have to fill their social schedules. We don't know how to sit with ourselves and just chill, which I think we crave. I think there is something that needs to happen with a slowdown of society so that we can finally take a collective breath and be like, oh, let's live life. Let's not just keep doing life.
That's so true, because isn't there all these moments of joy and happiness and connection that we're missing out of? And I think a really good place to start with this is how you can find one little thing that you do regularly in your day that you can then add on a little moment of joy, of strength, of movement, whatever it is, because we are so, we've got these packed lives, we're driving so fast, so many of us, and to expect ourselves to remember to do it, to feel motivated to do it, sort of got to somehow make it so, oh, okay, that little thing we kind of do without thinking too much. I mean, for mine is that when I go and I flick the kettle for a cup of tea, my hands go on the bench and I do 10 push-ups, and I don't really have to think about that very much anymore. And even if I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered, I'll just say, just do one. So if you can find a little place for you, whatever, our days all look very differently, whether it's maybe if you take a sip of water, that's your moment to stand up, have a little shake out of your body and sit back down again. If you're on the phone, then that's your moment to stand up and have a little walk and get your, that nice blood and oxygen flowing up to your brain. And then after you have done that, I think that's so, so important. Even if it is that one push-up against your wall, it's that one little moment where you just roll down in your spine and roll back up, shoulders up, whatever, how small, is to celebrate it and to take this little moment to go, yes, good on me. High five yourself in your laptop screen, fist pump, or just internally just say yes, because it's really so important to celebrate these little small moments where we've given back to ourselves and not just always celebrate these big ones.
And stop criticizing ourselves when we don't do it. So if you don't do the 10, but you did the one, like, give yourself praise, the fact that you actually pushed through to do that one and didn't do, even though you didn't do the 10. We are so prone just to go to the negative. Like I said, like I could have continued on doing 75 hard. Like no one is actually like taking a picture and saying like, you did miss that one workout. Like I still did a 45-minute workout that day. I could have continued on and probably been really happy with the results I was seeing. Yet it was just kind of like, I threw in the towel. I mean, I've seen it with my husband. He, years ago, ruptured his Achilles just playing basketball. So he had like reconstructive surgery. And now, you know, we've had some really cold weather where we live, and we were outside playing with the kids in the snow and all this stuff. All of a sudden, he has major like nerve damage in his Achilles. So he's been struggling to get around, and he was like religious about having a morning walk every day, and it made him like a much happier person. And you're seeing it in his movement. So like, he's like, feels like he can't do it, but if he does those stretches, or if he can do something like that, it's starting to build that momentum and you feel better. And so I think that's where we get with these like little things. If you do just that one push up or that one squat or that one sit up, you start to feel better about yourself. And the next time you might do 2, the next time you might do 3. Is that what we're kind of trying to do by these 2-minute moves and these short little bursts of activity? Is just to kind of build that routine and that push towards momentum?
Yeah, and I mean, I called in the US the excuse buster from down under.
Yeah.
And so it's really about how can we bust all the excuses and challenges, obstacles, the real stuff as well, that gets into our head. So it's this idea of when you say, I don't have time to exercise today, I'm too tired to move, all that sort of stuff, be able to bust it and say something back to it. So mine has always been, since 15 years ago when I had postnatal depression, is just do 2 minutes or less. It's all you have to do. When I make sure that for the last year, I've really wanted to work on my strength. I'm getting in my late 40s. I want to keep strong. And so every morning when I get back in the door, if I've been for a walk or whatever, I've got some dumbbells there and I just pick them up. And if I only just do one bicep curl, that's okay. And the amount of times I've walked past them going, I'm not doing them today. I say, no, just lift them. One bicep curl. That's it. That's all you have to do. When I was writing this book, I made a commitment every day to write something. And even if that was just one word, because you're so right about the momentum, it's that steam train that's there at the station, isn't it? You think there's no way you're going to get that moving, but just somehow little bit, and then it starts to build that momentum, and then it's off. And it's the same with us.
You know, it's funny, as you were saying that, it made me think, you know, we get in our head and we make all the excuses that we need to make to not do the thing. Yet when we move, we get out of our head. So literally doing that one micro movement will get us out of our head and allow us to push forward. Yet we choose to stick in our head and not do it. But it's as simple. I mean, I literally want to kick myself right now. I'm like, all these excuses. I mean, I'm still trying to lose baby weight. My son's going to be 3 here soon. I'm still, you know, for my 2 babies back to back. It's like, you know, I had my babies later in life. I'm now in my 40s. It's not, you know, you don't just bounce back like you used to. And it's like, why am I not doing anything? It's on me. It's not on anyone else. And we have to get out of our head and literally just 2 jumping jacks. I mean, I have little kids. I'm running up and down stairs all day. Why am I not doing more? What is it? Like, why aren't we doing more?
We're waiting. We're waiting to have this amount of time. We're waiting to be fitter. We're waiting to feel like it. We're waiting so we can, you know, do the sort of workout that we want to do to give us the certain results that we want to get. I mean, so many times I think we're waiting for this magic pill, the big thing. We're waiting for the big moments. And it's this discounting of the small little things that we all seem to do. It seems to be this universal thing to not really think that the small things count. But if you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh, really, 10 push-ups today on my kitchen counter, really, what's that going to do? A 1 minute walk and I'm here at my desk, what's that going to do? And then you go, okay, well, at the end of my work week, how many minutes of that have I done? At the end of the month, at the end of the year, and your future self in 10 years' time, looking back, is going to go, man, thank you so much for that 10 push-ups that you did each day, because now I'm here lifting up my grandkids. Now I'm here feeling a bit fit and can take out the huge rubbish bag or lift this box or whatever it is. It's so hard to look forward and see how important those little things are. So there's a great quote by Alan Cohen, and he says, do not wait for the conditions to be perfect to begin. Beginning makes the conditions perfect. And I love that so much.
I love that. And I love that you brought up like 10 years from now, because that is one thing that absolutely drives me crazy, is seeing people in our life get older and then just complaining about how hard it is to get old or how miserable it is because you can't move. Like, we should be enjoying our lives as we get older. And yet I see so many older people that just almost stop living. One, because, they can't walk very far, or they can't do this, or, there's all these limitations where there's actually no rule. There's nothing written in our lifetime in the world, in the universe, whatever, that says we have to get old and sedentary and just wither away on our couch. I mean, there are people in their 90s out there running marathons. I'm not, I ran a half marathon in my 20s. That was enough for me. I'm not a runner, but there are. So like, we go through these things. It's like, just because you're getting older doesn't mean we have to sit in the Barca lounge and just eat chips all day and watch our shows. Like, we can move. And the minute we stop moving is the minute we lose it. And that becomes just as addictive as the good feeling of that movement.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about exercise that some people, a lot of us, and we all have these days, we think, that just feels like another thing on my to-do list today.
Yeah.
Or another thing I have to get in my diary. And for some of us, it can feel like a real chore. A lot of people hate exercise. Yes. I mean, we've all got our thing with exercise. For me, when I was a professional dancer, I was 18 years old. It was my first big job on a cruise ship. And I got on stage there. We're all so excited. And then the person who was running the ship said, all you dancers, there's not many of us, 5 of us, you all need to lose weight.
Ugh.
And so from that moment, for many years, exercise became a punishment for by how my body looked, for eating a certain way. For some people, it's exercise is associated with school sports or some bad experience at the gym or something like that. So even just this word. And that's why there's something about the word exercise I don't really, really love, because there's so many connotations on it. So I like to flip that word, take out a few letters, so it becomes the word energize. And rather than saying, how am I going to exercise today? Or how could I exercise at work? Or I don't want to exercise today. I don't have time to exercise today. It's like, how am I going to energize today? How can I energize at work? How can I energize in my day? Just a little mindset flip I know really helps me. And that seems to have helped quite a lot of people as well. Just getting out of that whole, exercise, I hate it. Energize. Okay, what energizes me? Is it having a dance? Is it just standing up and having a stretch? Is it doing some chair yoga? What is it? So it's just kind of losing this whole exercise connotation thing.
Yeah. I mean, that word matters so much. The word exercise. Yeah. To me, it's like, we got to do this. It's a chore. It's negative. There's nothing like associated with fun, but energize is positive. It feels good to say. And why wouldn't we want more energy? But that's just crazy to me that, you could be in that space. And I know you were probably thin at the time. And they're coming and saying, you're not good enough. And that's what we find in so much of our life. And I know even for me, it's like the stories we tell ourselves around everything about our life, even when it comes to fitness or moving our body. I have a story that, oh, my metabolism's slow. My family doesn't have this, or whatever. I have these things playing in my head. Those are just stories. My family is not a family of doctors, things that have just been passed down to me. It's like and then we adopt them and we think it's us. Like we think that that's a part of us when it might have just been something that was just said once. So, we have to reframe the stories around whether it's the word, the motivation to exercise, to rather energize, or why we're doing it. Because if we are doing it just to lose weight, which I've done very extreme things just to lose weight. 2 spin classes back to back, followed by an hour of strength training with a 1,200 calorie diet. I don't know anyone that would actually say that that's smart, but I've done it, type of thing, but that was punishment. It was pure punishment. And there's nothing joyful about that movement in my mind. But if I go back to my childhood and I go back to the dance, that was pure joy.
Yeah, I just love that feeling that dancing gives me and moving gives me. And what a shame when we pile that on with, okay, well, this movement has to fix my body. It has to give me these certain results. I have to lose this baby weight, all of this, the joy that movement brings and what it does for us, the benefits of it. It's so incredible. The inner pharmacy that we have inside of us that is just waiting to come out, to be accessed when we move, and then to squash that down with this self-hate and this having to, fix ourselves and all that kind of stuff. It's so worth taking the time to work on that. That's what I certainly did. It took a long time, but really to try and take that out of the narrative. And that was for me, every time it came in to those thoughts, having another kind of mantra or another thoughts to kind of go, no, that's not how I think anymore. I move to feel good. I move because I want to be more creative. I want to be more connected with people. And that takes some time if you're stuck in that mentality as I was, but it's so worth persevering with that.
Do you think the lack of movement that we see just across the board, at least in the Western cultures, I know it's very similar where you are to the States. Do you think this lack of movement has contributed to a lot of the mental health issues that we see and we talk about so much? Because I know I deal with it. I know you've dealt with it in your past. And I know the effects of it. I know when I go for that walk, I'm in a better mood. My mind is better. I'm happier. Everything is just better. And if we don't, then obviously, it's not as good. But do you think that has contributed as a whole, to the mental health issues that we see?
I think that we spend so much of our day not getting the benefits of movement.
Yeah.
Some of us will, get to that gym class in the morning or the half-hour walk at night, whatever. And then so much of the rest of our day, for many of us, is spent, for those of us who are working at a desk, it's spent there sitting at this desk, not moving. And it's not how we're designed. Our body rewards us when we're moving. It releases brilliant things. Endocannabinoids, that's the body's chill pill. It releases myokines, the hope molecules, which Kelly McGonigal talks about in The Joy of Movement. We actually feel more hopeful when we move. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is like fertilizer for our brain, but also so good for our mood. So here are all these incredible things that happen to us when we move, and yet where so many of us aren't doing it. So you can only imagine that we know that exercise in the case of mild to moderate cases of depression can be as equivalent to the antidepressants, same effects. That's what all the studies show, not that that is in any way taking out the importance of antidepressants or whatever you need. That's something that you talk to your doctor about. It's just to highlight the fact that we know that exercise gives us those same feelings and that same effect. So you can only imagine if we are spending so much of our day not getting those effects, then it must be having an impact on our mental health.
Yeah. Do you think it makes a difference whether we're doing this inside or out? Because I know just being outside in general in the fresh air, just like you're saying, has such huge benefits for us, but does it matter if you're doing that movement inside or out? Because I did see, who was it? it was, I think it was Zach Bush or something talking about the fact that like we live in we live in this world that's so calculated, that's so manufactured, from our air conditioning to this, like it is causing us so much harm. So if we can take our movement outside, not only are we going to get all the benefits of the pharmacy in our brain, like you're just talking about, but then we're also going to get the grounding elements. We're going to get that nature element. We're going to get all of those benefits too. I mean, I can only imagine what that does to our mental state and our well-being.
Of course. I mean, that sounds absolutely ideal. But what about when you're there and you've got a sick kid at home and you can't get outside?
Right.
What about if you've got a deadline and you have just got to power through? What about if it's pouring rain, storming, freezing, so hot and humid, and you can't get outside? Like, okay, well, I can't do it today. So yes, that sounds wonderful, but we don't want to let the perfection of that get in the way of actually taking action. And in fact, studies back it up. It actually, you get so many of the same effects from going out for a walk outside to inside. There's a study by Stanford University that shows that compared to sitting, walking increases creative output by 60%. And those creative juices continue to flow after you sat back down. And it doesn't matter if you do that walk outside or inside.
Really? So do you like the idea of all the walking desks that we see now? All the people with their little like treadmills underneath their desks?
I think it sounds pretty cool. I don't have one myself. I'm just always getting up, and I'll make sure if I'm on the phone, I'll have a little pace on the spot, or I'll stand up and kind of kick my legs back a little bit, bring my knees up, just kind of do a bit of a march on the spot. Imagine that the ground's a bit hot and just have a quick little jog like that. So yeah, that sounds brilliant if you've got the budget, the capacity to do that. But you can do that without the fancy special equipment. Just like if you don't have a stand-up desk, you can still, depending on your work, of course, some people are very much have to stay down. That's fine. But you can take little moments to stand up, or you could do what I did for years, pile your boxes of books up and have a moment where you can have your computer up as well. We've got to improvise, but it's these little moments that you can take to have that little walk on the spot. I mean, ideally, if you're on the phone to someone, if you can, you get on your sneakers, get on outside and have a walk and talk. That's brilliant. Have a walking meeting. They're so effective. But if not, just like a little walk on the spot, set a little timer, 30 seconds walk, 30 seconds go a little bit faster, like the ground's really hot, doing those little things, even just once in your day. There's actually another study by Columbia University that says that taking a 1-minute walk every 30 minutes has such great benefits for your regulating of your blood sugar. So after you eat, you've got that time where your blood sugar spikes and then you go on this roller coaster ride. So even taking a 1-minute walk after you've eaten, but it also really helps with fatigue and improves your mood. That is 1 minute every 30 minutes. And if you can't get outside to do it, you can do that on the spot, up and down your stairs in your house, whatever, go and walk around somewhere. So yeah, don't think that if you don't have half an hour for a walk, then you can't do a walk today. You can break it up in little moments and still get so many of the incredible positive benefits from that.
Wow. And I think that is key, is because we do think we need to get all the fancy things to do it. I've had the Peloton, I've had the Lululemon mirror, I've had all those things, and it didn't keep me motivated. It was a nice new fancy toy for a minute. And then, I end up selling it because it's like, I'm not using it. So we have to just like use with what we have and just start doing the things. And I love that 1-minute walk every 30 minutes, like set a timer. I actually had a psychologist tell me that about breathing, because I will forget to literally breathe. Like we don't take breaks enough in our day in general just to breathe. And I always notice it when I'm driving. I'll be at a red light. I'm like, why am I holding my breath? What am I doing? And she said, set a timer on your phone to remind you to breathe, or maybe little like Post-it notes around the house, like a mirror. Every time you walk by, you see it. Oh, do 5 squats and give me a high five. I mean, I can only imagine if I actually start doing this, which I think I should. My children, they're at an age where it's like, follow the leader. Like what great benefit to them this would be to help them like start a routine that's healthy. I mean, they're active right now because they just are. But if they saw me doing that, I mean, for the 10 days that I was doing those workouts, my daughter keeps asking me, can we do that workout again, mommy? Like, I streamed something off of YouTube and did some weights, and she thought it was the most fun thing. So, I mean, so many benefits if we just do these little things throughout our day.
Yes. And if you set a timer, if possible, have it so it's somewhere away from you. So you have to get up and get it. Because it's really easy if you've got the timer to just, go, oh, I'm in the middle. I do it. I'm in the middle of something, set it off. And the other thing you probably have to watch, Courtney, because I know you are a bit of like, I'm going to set these big goals and everything, is that if you find that you do it every half hour to start with, and you start to just go ignore, even just choose one time in your day that you're going to set a timer when you know you've got a nice, big, intense period of work ahead. If you've got like an hour ahead, that's your moment where you go, okay, just set this one timer today. Start with that. And 30 minutes is going to be away from my desk. I'm going to get on up and listen to your body. What does it need? Does it need to roll your shoulders back? Do you need to turn your head from side to side? Do you need to have a little box out in front because you're feeling kind of stressed and frustrated? What is it that you need in that moment? And then head on back and get on with what you're doing.
So do you actually see results from these small moments?
Oh, yes. It's so...
like physical results?
Who have gone... I've known people that have gone from getting to the end of their week, and usually they would be there on the floor, back in agony, shoulders, neck, just like having just to lie down there on the floor, to their bodies feeling so much better. I have seen people who haven't moved for 30 years because they think, oh, it's not possible. I'm so desk bound. When I say not moved, just not being physically active, just not had an active life. And it's just not possible for me. I put on so much weight and I just can't do this exercise thing. Just starting to take these little 2 minutes in their day, and they do see a difference in their bodies. But even greater than that is the way that they feel, because first of all, they feel, oh, okay, this is actually achievable for me. And how good does it feel when something feels achievable, when before that it felt really hopeless? And then secondly, what happens there is that they gain this ripple effect happens. So they're starting to move a little bit more, feel this little bit better, and maybe then they start to go, okay, I remember myself, I'm going to eat something other than the leftover soggy crusts of my kid's sandwich. I'm actually going to make myself, chop myself up some carrots or some beans or something to have in my day today. I'm going to you know what? I am going to go out and and see my friend tonight when before I didn't really feel like it. I feel more social. It's this amazing ripple effect happens from even just these small little moves.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going through that in my head. And anytime I have done that, yes, you are completely right. Everything in your life starts to go better because you feel better. And it all starts with those little things that make you feel better. And yes, the weight going down or fitting in your clothes a little bit better, those are the tangible results. But it's more of that like unknown feeling, that je ne sais quoi, that just makes you feel good. Yeah, I don't want to eat that sandwich. I mean, it's literally, you're describing my life. It's like, do I really want to make that salad when I just made 2 sandwiches and my kids barely ate, and now I'm going to have to throw out, so I just eat the crust? You're right. And I could chalk it up to being a busy mom, but at the end of the day, I'm not doing anyone any good if I'm not taking care of my body and my mental health and my physical well-being and how I feel. And it all comes down to how we feel.
That's right. And when you're feeling even physically achy and tight, I mean, a lot of us have got, a lot of big stuff going on. Look at your husband, what happened to him. But finding even just one little move that you can do in your day, if you're doing, if you can't do your big walk anymore or whatever it is that you can do. So one of my favorite ones when I'm sitting down is I pretend that, say I've dropped a couple of pens on the ground and I just lean down to pick one up and lean the other way to pick it up. And you could do a move like that even on a virtual meeting, and no one is going to know that you're having some stretch or anything. A little turn to look at the back, like someone's calling you, turn the other side. And I feel the difference in my spine, in my back at the end of the week, even just taking those little ones. You can see how these tiny little things all just start to add up and add up. But at the time, we think, well, this doesn't do anything. Seriously, 2 minutes, what's that going to do? But then you go, okay, right, because I did that today and I did it again and that and that. It's, those little moments truly do count.
So what's your advice to get out of your head when even you don't want to do those little moments? What did you do when you were, when you were sitting there with your girls and it's like you had to push yourself? So there has to be something. And I know you've said it. I know other people have said it, is motivation doesn't always come first. Motivation comes after action, but we have to take that action. So what is the easiest way to push ourselves to take that small action?
It's often when we have the greatest resistance, this big resistance to doing something. That's often when we need to do it the most. And what I've come to realize is that is my signal to myself. If I am feeling really, I can't get myself motivated, I can't get myself to do it, I can't be bothered, all those type of things, it's become a bit of a signal, a bit of a cue to myself going, whoa, okay, if you're feeling like that about the thing that you know is going to help you, even just the littlest way, be a little bit better, work a little bit better, get what you want to get done today, be more present with your kids. If that resistance is so strong, it's the Stephen Pressfield in his book, The War on Art, then it's often our signal that we need to do it more than ever. It's this thing that is going to help us so much. So now I look at that lack of motivation, that not wanting to do it as a bit of a signal going, oh, okay, that's my sign that I need to do this more than ever.
And you will take the action.
And then I say to myself, okay, see those dumbbells there that you made a commitment to every day that you were going to lift them? You're just going to pick them up. Don't have to do anything else. Pick them up and then put them back down. It's that just tiny bit of action that precedes the motivation that then leads to the momentum. And when we don't take that little bit of action, that momentum is so, so hard to get. So even if, Courtney, today you think, okay, well, I'm off the wagon, I've stopped doing these workouts that I was doing. Okay, right. I am just going to get my hands on that bench today, do it with my daughter, and do it with your daughter, and just do that one push up. And that is action. So the next time it's going to be that little bit easier and that bit easier. Trust in these small little steps. Trust in these little moments and how that'll make it easier for you to do it tomorrow, the next, and the next.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about it. It's like, even though it's like, okay, this is my signal that I need to be doing this because I'm resisting it so much, I still have to work up that motivation, for lack of a better word, to do it. So I like how you say, literally pick up the dumbbells and set them down. You don't even have to do the curl, like pick it up and set it down. That goes right in line with, I've talked to psychotherapists about it. When you're trying to build a new routine or a new habit, put your gym shoes by the door and just look at them. Literally look at them. Don't do anything because it's too scary. It's too big, but put them there for a week. And then next week, put them on. Sit, and then take them off and go sit back down on the couch. Like, it's these little actions that are going to lead you down this road to actually taking the bigger action. And more often than not, the bigger action is going to come faster because you're like, well, this is stupid. Like, okay, they're on. Let's just go for that walk, even if it's 2 minutes. But I've even heard stories of people that have gone, like, force themselves to go walk into the gym and leave for 6 months. I think it was 3 months or 6 months, and not even work out, just to build the habit of going to the gym, even though they started to feel like they wanted to work out. It's just that rewiring of the brain that this is what we do now. So if it's just picking up those dumbbells and setting them down, this is what we do now.
And celebrating it. Celebrating yourself that you picked up that dumbbell, that you put your shoes there, that you walked into the gym and you walked out. We are so, so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And what a shift to go to say to yourself, yes, Good on me.
Yeah.
I picked up that dumbbell. You know what I did today? I set one timer on my phone and I stood up and I stretched my arms to the ceiling and I sat back down. We go through in our minds all the things that we have done wrong, haven't been good enough at, blah, blah, blah. It can just roll and roll, especially if we lie in bed at night. Put into that loop that one little thing that you did today for your body. You're taking those few breaths, that having that little dance, that tiny little walk on the spot, whatever it is, deserves to be celebrated. And the great thing about that as well is that then your brain thinks, oh, that was a good thing. I should do that again.
So funny. It's so funny how our brain just messes with us so much, yet we can mess with it right back. We can trick it back and train it. So I love it. It works two ways, just as much as it can keep us from doing things. So thank you so much for joining me today. How do we find you? How do we get your books? How do we do your moves? How do we find you on all your speaking engagements and everything you are doing?
You can Google Lizzie Williamson. My book is The Active Workday Advantage, so Google that too. And if you've been listening to this fabulous podcast with Courtney here, and if you're there thinking, oh gosh, I need something to help me when I am sitting at my desk because I'm on back-to-back meetings and there's no way I'm going to move, or whatever it is you've sort of been thinking there's some sort of obstacle reason, then get in touch with me. I'm Energize with Lizzie on Instagram, or just find me somewhere. Tell me what it is, because I love creating little videos, doing my little walk and talks, and I want to help you. I want to help solve your problem. I want to help bust your excuse, and you can join me as being an excuse buster. So reach out and I will create that video for you, and make sure that you mention that you heard me on this amazing podcast.
Oh my goodness, we need to create a show all around being the excuse buster from down under. How fun would that be? And just follow people around and like bust all their excuses and be like, but no. Like have a reason to not do it. That'd be so much fun. I feel it's kind of like a prank show that you just pop up. No, I can't use that excuse.
I think we've got something, Courtney. You and I can just see our costumes, and you just it's like we're over someone's shoulder going, oh, we've got the excuse buster, like cape on, or something or other.
Oh, how much fun. Thank you so much. I had so much fun with you, and thank you for joining me today. And I can't wait to share this with everyone.
Thank you, Courtney, and thank you too, listener, for being here.
And that's it for today's Intentional Living with Courtney Myers. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Lizzie Williamson, for the fun, upbeat, and motivating conversation about getting ourselves moving. 2 minutes is all it takes. If you want to get our book, work with her, or ask her a question, I'll put all the information in the show notes below. And as always, you can find Intentional Living with Courtney Myers and Intentional Media on our website at CourtneyMyers.com. That's where you'll find our books, our courses, and everything else we have going on. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.